Hello, hello. My name is Gillian and I am the owner of GMacSpurr Coaching and I am a certified running and nutrition coach. Today I'm super excited to have a dear friend of mine from Consciously Cait join us to talk about running and menstruating. So let me just add her. Apologies if you are jiggling a little bit. It's probably like the Blair Witch Project. I'm sorry, you're on a stand that is jiggly. Bear with me a second. Okay. So she isn't being invited, so hopefully she will be arriving very soon. Ah, here she is! That was so fast! How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. So I've just done a very brief intro about myself, but please tell everyone who you are, what you do, and then we'll get started.
So, hi, I'm Caitlin or Cait. My pronouns are she, her. I'm based in Toronto and I'm a menstrual educator and coach. So, I help menstruators navigate basically their entire life, but mostly work, self-care, movement, and exercise, and teach them how to live in alignment with their cycles so that they feel better in their bodies.
Love it.
Mhm.
Love it. And I have just recently done a challenge of yours last month, and I'm working through Befriend Your Body, which we can do a plug for at the end. But yeah, Caitlin is awesome, and I've learned so much in the last few weeks that I've not known for years. So yeah, I'm so grateful. But I wanted to chat today around menstruating and running and the challenges that some of us face. Typically what I tell my clients is if they are able to run and they're training for a race, then try and run. Because you never know, on race day, you might have your period, you might be feeling awful. So it's always best to, if you can, try running. But if you're not training for a race and you don't feel good, then move your run to a different day, maybe take up some different kinds of movement. But ultimately, listen to your own body. You're the only one that knows what your body is capable of, what signals it's sending you.
Yes.
And so listen to your body first and foremost. But talk to us a little bit about what happens on day one of our period that may make running challenging for us.
Yes. So day one is the first day of your true bleed. So sometimes people get spotting a couple of days beforehand, but until you have like a true bleed, that is day one. And when you start a new cycle, when you're on day one, your estrogen and your progesterone levels have bottomed out. Like you've gone on kind of a roller coaster all month, and day
Mhm.
one, you're at your lowest. And with that, you also have anti-inflammatory proteins called prostaglandins, and they are the reason that you get cramps, lower back pain, digestive issues, and they're working to contract your uterine lining so that your period comes. And so with your menstrual cycle, with your menstrual phase, you might experience low mood, irritability, fatigue, any physical symptoms that come your way. On the flip side, if you really struggle with your PMS phase, your luteal phase, you might actually notice that day one of your cycle, day two of your cycle, you feel a lot better because it's like I like to imagine like a bloated bubble of tension being popped. So that's kind of a very basic version of what's going on. Mhm.
Nice. Yeah, no, I've definitely suffered with all that PMS, but I find the first couple of days are the worst, and then I'm completely fine the rest of
Yeah.
the month.
Yep.
But it's certainly that first couple of days, and like you're saying, yeah, like my mood's down, I'm achy, and I just don't really want to do anything.
Yeah.
Don't want to do anything.
And it's really kind of interesting because as you're experiencing your menstrual phase, you're already stimulating the chance of life, of ovulating. So when you're menstruating, your follicles that contain the eggs, they're already being stimulated and growing. And by day 4 or 5 of your cycle, you're already going up with your estrogen as well. Mm-hmm.
Nice. So when I said that for my runners, I encourage them to go out for a run. If they are feeling awful and they can't face going out for a run, what kind of movements do you recommend them taken up. If you've got an opinion on that, like what would you say would be better?
So you're saying if they're not racing, if they're not training?
Yeah, if they're not feeling good enough to go out for a run, what would you recommend in terms of movement to help feel
Yeah.
better?
Yeah. So walking, any mobility type of training, yin yoga, Pilates, but and also napping. Like napping is a form of exercise, I think, while you're menstruating. And then as you go throughout your menstrual phase, by day 3, you might feel pretty okay again, and then just ease back into it. But I always tell my clients to kind of imagine like your menstrual cycle, your whole entire menstrual cycle is like a gas tank. And when you're on day 1, you're out of gas. But slowly throughout those days, if you've rested, you're filling up your tank. And instead of just like bursting back out through the doors, ready to go, ready to push yourself really hard, kind of just like hold back like
Mm.
60%. So even when you're feeling okay, like day 3, day 4, hold back just a little bit and opt for lower impact exercise.
I love that. And I think there's so many things that happen, like yeah, during our period or the hot weather, or if there's a lot of stress going on in your life. I think it's easy to forget that all of this stuff is going on and your body is still working really hard, even though you may feel like your pace is really slow or that you're struggling. Like, be kind to yourself. Like, your body is going through a lot. Like, your mind and your legs may be like, let's go. But
Absolutely.
your body's doing things, a lot of things.
Yeah. If you just kind of hold that tension of not going out and just conserving some of that energy, you'll probably find that throughout your cycle you're going to have more energy, you might have happier periods and less PMS.
Yeah. Well, that's what we all want for sure. So you briefly touched upon like symptoms, like will a period sort of make us tired and achy, and like what else could
Yeah.
be happening around that time that may then impact our movement, whether that is running or yoga or swimming or whatever, or napping.
Yeah, so of course there's cramps. Like I think that's the first one that everyone
Mhm.
goes to. But you can also have digestive issues, and if you're a runner, digestive issues when you're on your period can be stressful. Um,
Mhm.
that kind of thing. And if you don't mind, I can just for a minute talk about like the luteal phase because I think that's also
Yeah,
really important because
for sure.
honestly, in terms of the most difficult part of your cycle, it might actually be your luteal phase because in your luteal phase, your body temperature is higher by 0.5 to a degree. And so you have harder ability to cool yourself down. So in the summer, you might
Mm.
find that in your PMS phase, you can't really cool down as a week before. And in your luteal phase, because progesterone is so high, you're going to have decreased endurance. You are going to have more blood sugar instability, and that might decrease your aerobic capacity and your strength. So that's also
Mhm.
something to keep in mind as well.
I'm interested that you say about the temperature rise, because when you are out running, your temperature typically goes up about 10 degrees just with all that movement. So if you're adding in your movement plus the temperature increase on your period, plus if it's really hot outside, like it's just a volcano.
Yeah, so you definitely want to have those like tools in your back pocket to cool yourself down after you have a run, like a cold bath or whatever. Hmm.
That sounds nice, a nice cold bath for sure. I think that's the kind of thing that I would dream about on a hot run anyway,
Yeah.
even if I'm not on my period. But certainly right now, when it is so hot, just that cold drink or that cold shower or that cold bath or an ice bath, even.
Yes. I don't think I do that, but cold is okay.
Maybe that, I guess, that's probably more so marathon training. I wouldn't necessarily have an ice bath just for fun,
Yeah.
but just to keep it really nice and cold.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, also, there's a couple of things that you just want to be a little bit aware of or cautious of, is that when you're in your luteal and your menstrual phase, you also have higher capacity or higher chances of knee injuries, so ACL tears, because there's not enough estrogen in your system. And you might find that your reaction time, coordination, balance, all of that stuff also decreases in that luteal and first couple of days of your menstrual phase.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I had no idea about the knees and the estrogen. That's really fascinating.
Yeah.
So just being more cautious on movements. And yes, if you're clumsy anyway, just being a bit more aware of that and not necessarily doing speed work that day. Like try and have it much more easy, a bit more mindful of what you're doing, a bit more mindful of the steps that you're taking.
Yeah, and like and warm up enough as well.
Warm up is so important.
Yeah.
Whether or not you are on your period or menstruate, like warming up.
Yeah.
I kind of always say to my clients that a run, you kind of need to see it as a sandwich, as if you will. Like the warm up is the bread, the run is the innard, and then the cool down is the other bit of bread. So it's not complete unless you've done it all.
Oh,
I don't know why I thought of it as a sandwich. It could be
I love
anything.
that.
So we need to be cautious of our footing, our balance. We're going to be much warmer. We're maybe got a little discomfort. I can't remember what the wording you said, but rushing to the bathroom a lot.
Yeah, you might also have more blood sugar instability. So, a couple of weeks ago, you might have been able to get by with not enough food before your run, but in your luteal and in your first couple of days of your menstrual phase, you might notice that you should have eaten.
And is there anything in particular that we should be mindful of, including in our diet around about the day one, or drinking more, or is there anything that we can kind of do from a nourishment standpoint?
So the first thing that I can think of is it's again with your luteal phase. Progesterone decreases, or it gets rid of sodium a lot faster. So when you are in your luteal phase leading up to your menstrual phase, you probably want to be having salt water, or if you're going for a really big run, have high sodium chicken noodle soup the night before to replenishes those levels. You also want to make sure that you are eating a good combo of carbs and protein before, and replenishing your protein levels within 30 minutes after. I'm sure most of your clients know that.
I hope so.
But if you do struggle with cramps or, fatigue, all that kind of thing, about 7 days before your period is supposed to start, you should be eating foods that have magnesium or taking a supplement. You want to be eating foods that have omega-3s. And if you are still experiencing cramps, maybe having an aspirin or another similar kind of medication that is anti-inflammatory, because that will help with the prostaglandins.
And I would just be cautious with taking those pain medications and then going out for a run, because then it kind of hides any pain that you might be experiencing. So just be mindful, if you have taken something and you go out for a run, that your body could be trying to send you a signal that something doesn't feel right, that you perhaps injured yourself or on the way to injuring yourself, but that messaging has been blocked. So,
that's right. Yes.
Yeah. Nice. We have a few people joined. If you have any questions, please use the chat box, so it's not just me bombarding Cait with all her questions. So feel free to add something in the comment box. I wanted to kind of chat a little bit about products. There's a lot on the market. Back when I started running, it was pretty much tampons or pads, and I'm ashamed to admit that I would use pads when I was running when I started, and the chafe was real. I have never had such bad chafe in areas that you don't want to be chafed. But there's a lot of products on the market now. It seems like it's just boomed over the last 5-ish years. What kind of products are there that would be beneficial to use whilst we are running?
So if you don't want to use a tampon and you're going for a really long run, a menstrual cup could be quite helpful for you. Some people find it uncomfortable while they're doing sports, but a lot of the idea is that once it's inserted, you shouldn't really be able to feel it. I will say that if your menstrual cup has like the little thing that you can grab to pull it down, you might want to cut it off and what are these called? File.
File it down.
And file it down just so that because sometimes like if it's not filed down it feels uncomfortable at the opening of your vagina, and then there are like lots of period underwear kind of products. Like there's ones that are like shorts, there's all different kinds of styles, but some of them are going to hold up to 12 tampons worth, so that's a good thing to keep in mind.
And I've actually recently just bought some myself. I haven't tried them for an actual period yet. I've just been wearing them as regular underwear because they feel so good.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's so many options now. And of course, there's also running without, like we've seen in the press.
Bleeding.
There's many people that run without anything, and you do you, absolutely. But yeah, interesting tip there about cutting off the stem
The stem.
of the menstrual cup, because I use one and I never even occurred to me. But there's definitely been times where I've felt it for sure.
For me, it hurts if there's still a stem, so I need that gone.
Because it's not like I use it, which is maybe TMI. Oh, I feel like I'm sharing way more than I ever thought I would on the internet.
We are here to normalize menstrual cycles. We are here to normalize the menstruator experience. So,
Yeah, absolutely, no, completely agree, completely agree. And what about other products? So not necessarily for the flow, but any recommendations to ease discomfort, like pre, post, like we talked about ice baths or cold baths, sorry, should I say. Anything else that you've kind of got in your kind of bucket of supplies that you have found that really help with any PMS or discomfort?
yeah, I honestly would recommend magnesium for every menstruator, because magnesium not only helps with like cramps in the legs, your cramps, it also is great for sleeping. It also helps calm down your nervous system, so it also helps with anxiety and stress. So magnesium for sure. And then there's like, lots of heating pads on the market. There's a really cool company called Some Days. They're a Canadian company, and they have really nice cramp creams, a heating pad that's the shape of your uterus, and all sorts of things like that as well. And like if you're interested, maybe CBD would also help us.
Nice. Yeah, you did recommend Sunday to me a while ago,
Mm-hmm.
and I love their story. I love their products.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh,
You mentioned,
you can
sorry,
use Consciously Cait at checkout for 20% off.
I will put that in the comments once I post this. We'll put it in the comments. So consciously Cait for 20%
For
off.
20% off. Mm-hmm.
Yes. You mentioned magnesium. Is that something that people should go to their doctor and ask about, or can they just go to Shoppers or Rexall and pick up any magnesium? Like, do you need a prescription? Can you go with whatever?
Obviously, if you have never taken magnesium, you might want to talk to your doctor before, but you can just go to the drugstore. There's gentle magnesium, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, most menstruators are pretty deficient in it, and it doesn't have a lot of side effects. If there's I forget what there's two versions, but get the one that says gentle on the bottle, because one of them can be a bit hard on your stomach.
Yeah, no, I do use gentle as well, and I typically every single night I will have it, and that's the one supplement that I remember to take religiously because it's at my bedside cabinet. I've got a little routine just before I go to bed. I take it half an hour before I go to sleep,
Yes.
and I have it all the time. But typically I try and have it in the morning as well because, yeah, like you said, it's not just for period. It is very much for
Just,
so much in the body, so much. It's a
yeah,
fantastic supplement. Yeah.
yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Nice.
I did come up with I maybe did extra credit homework for this. But I did come up with like an example training and like exercises that you would do throughout your entire cycle if you wanted to hear about it.
Mm. Yeah, I do.
Okay, I have notes. You can't see it, but I have notes because I am always over prepared.
I love it.
Okay.
Yes, give it to us.
So in your menstrual phase, if you're not training for a race, you want to take the first couple of days off if you can. You want to walk, jogging with lots of breaks if you don't actually want to stop running. Mobility work, foam rolling, yoga, Pilates, great, all great stuff. In your pre-ovulatory phase, once you've stopped your menstrual phase, you want to get out there. You want to do things that like go run with your friends, push yourself, anything that's getting you nice and sweaty. Cardio is in terms of your menstrual cycle, cardio feels the best here in your follicular phase or your pre-ovulatory phase. And then when you're in your ovulatory phase, this is where you probably can hit your best times. So as your estrogen and your testosterone are peaking, you're going to feel energy. You're going to want to get out there. So interval sprints, hit, anything that's going to get you nice and sweaty. Might also opt for some longer runs, but be careful of those knees as well. And then in your luteal phase, for the first week or first couple of days up to a week, you might still feel like you have that ovulatory energy, but as you get closer to your menstrual cycle, your menstrual phase, dial it back. Focus on strength
Mm.
training. Your knees are going to be more susceptible to injury around here. You want to do Pilates, mobility, training drills, that kind of thing. And then it repeats again. It's this lovely cycle. So you kind of can kick that feeling of consistency and you're not feeling consistent to the curb and instead work with your body, working smarter, not harder.
Oh, love it.
Yeah.
Love it. And like you said, oh, if you're training for something, then you have to run not necessarily to your cycle. Like,
No.
unfortunately, we can't.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're not running for a race, if you're not training for a race, and it is for mentally feeling good, physically feeling good, then yeah, following your cycle and like you said, doing the different activities for the different stages, really taking advantage of that energy boost, or if the energy is low, being mindful of the knees, being mindful of your body temperature and all of that stuff. I think that's a really valuable
Yeah.
way to do it. So you're not pushing your body in times where you're not quite feeling it, but you feel like you have to do it.
Yeah. And I will say that if you are training for something, of course you have to train, but can you find rest in other places in your life? So, you might not be able to rest in terms of your physical exercise, but maybe you want to clear your schedule. Maybe you want to double or triple up on self-care or really make sure you're nourishing your body. Oh, you heard my dog bark. I'm so sorry. There's just little things that you can do in order to nourish yourself without maybe um, getting off track of your training.
No, absolutely. I think, yeah, just be mindful. And like again, what I said at the beginning, just listening to your body. And if you are pushing hard on your run during a phase that it's your body doesn't want to run hard, but yeah, really taking it easy, doing some foam rolling, stretching, having that bath, having that downtime, maybe that afternoon nap, just to help you kind of balance out so you're not just go, 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 which I feel like we all are and have been for quite a while. And it
Yeah,
seems to just be the norm now that
it
it's,
is.
if you're not going 100% at it all the time, then you are a slacker, which
It's
is
just not
not.
true, and it's honestly making people like have menstrual irregularities. It's making people burn out. So I am all about like anti-hustle. I'm about slowness and listening to your body because that's the most important thing.
Yeah, and you're the only one that knows what's going on in your body. Like I regularly say to my clients, like, you need to tell me what are you feeling? How does it feel good? Are you lacking energy? Are you feeling really good? is there anything that's just not quite jiving? Like
Yeah.
I can't diagnose that if you don't tell me. Like you need to listen to those signs. And I think your challenge last month really helped
Hmm.
highlight those symptoms, those uh, things that you're feeling. It's likely because of your cycle, and just being aware of where you are in the cycle and what your body is going through and what it feels, and yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And so, like, I always tell everyone to track your cycle. And if you are someone who runs a lot or, or training, track your cycle and see how maybe instead of, or maybe you want to add in, like, how strong do I feel today? Or, like, what is my
Mhm.
endurance like? And track for a couple of months, and you might see those patterns. And then you're going to be able to better shift and navigate that training schedule for your life and for your schedule.
Oh, yeah, that data is key. To have that then really helps you work out what you need to do. And I have never tracked my cycle apart from the challenge. That was the first time in my whole life. And if you have talking to anybody that watching this, if you have a Garmin, if you log on to Garmin Connect, it has got a menstrual app
Mm,
built in. So within it, you can track your symptoms, you can write how you're feeling. But one of the tips that you'd given, Cait, in the challenge was to have a journal as well. So you can write out how you're feeling, how strong you're doing, like how your body is. So rather than just tracking the symptoms,
exactly.
how are you feeling as well in your head and your body?
Yeah, because like I just find that like we have so much data. If as a menstruating person, every single day we have a different hormone fluctuation. We are not the same person from day one to day two to day five to all of the days. So the more we investigate into our own bodies, the more we, you know, look for clues and data, the more we can take agency over our own bodies, the more that we can live our life in a more sustainable way and even exercise in a way that
Mhm.
better supports our body.
And it's no different to what I do for my clients in that their data comes into a platform, I analyze it, I see where there was maybe a challenge or a struggle, and was that what they had the last time that they ran? So it's no different having that data to the data of what's going on in your body, how your hormones are, how you're feeling. And I use the data in the dashboard to create new runs for them or new workouts to push them or pull it back. And it's no different to this data. Like on this day of the month, I need to take an afternoon nap, or I'm going to feel so good on this day. I'm going to go for a long walk, or I'm feeling really social at this time of the month. I'm going to go meet up with friends.
Exactly.
It's just having that data to really help
Yeah.
shape your month.
Yeah.
Yay! So I'd mentioned at the beginning of the call that I am going through the Befriend Your Body course. Do you want to talk a little bit about some of your offerings and if anybody is interested, how they can find you?
Yeah. So Befriend Your Body is supposed to act like the hormonal journey class, the body basics that you never learned that you should have learned in school. So
Mhm.
that's like it's a mini course, self-paced. I also have another course launching in the next month. Well, I have a date in mind, but we'll see. And that's called Rhythm, and it's a deep dive into cycle syncing, productivity, relationships, movement, food, self care. And so that's a self guided study as well. And then I have also offer one on one coaching, and my website is consciouslycait.com.
Wonderful. And I'll tag you when I put this recording up live. I'll tag you on Instagram so people can
Please.
find you as well. So
Mm,
please go follow Cait. She's a wealth of knowledge.
yeah.
I don't think any questions have come up. If you do have any questions, please feel free to pop them in the chat. Obviously, I appreciate everyone being here, or if you're watching the recording, thank you for getting this far.
Mhm.
If you are into running, into nutrition, then certainly give me a shout. I've got a running and nutrition program that is currently live, and I've currently got space for a couple of new clients this month. So give me a shout, send me a DM. But thank you so much, Cait, for your time. We've learned so much. Is there anything else that you were wanting to chat about today before we end, or?
No, I think we covered a lot. It was in depth, so.
It was. Thank you so much for creating that training plan
Mhm.
for the month. So I'll maybe type that out, and if anybody wants it, I think they can send me a DM. But
Yeah,
thank you.
Amy.
Yay, I will chat to you later.
Yes.
Take care.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.